2000 is the story of a social experiment to create a new community of 30 people living and working together on a remote island. The island of Taransay in the Outer Hebrides was once home to over 100 people, but the harsh conditions and bleak climate had left it uninhabited until January the 1st this year. Over 4,000 people answered the call to be castaways. Just 34 of them won through to the first selection week, where they must convince our panel of experts that they are worthy of one of the first 15 places on offer.
Oh, look at the worms!
Handling their own sewage and livestock had brought mixed fortunes. So too had an orienteering race.
Right, yeah. So we're looking for...
No, Jack, I think...
Well, go on, get going. I'll keep you in sight, and then I can keep these in sight, and then we know where we're going.
Ken told me he can't read a map. Not saying I can, but at least I knew where we were when we started.
Easy. There you go. Keep it running. Okay, punch it
After
up
4
the
days
shoulders.
of practical exercises, the volunteers must now prove themselves to Lofty Wiseman, a former SAS survival trainer and a key member of the Castaway selection panel.
Go! So in the morning, I think bit of physical, get them in their true nature. They're not washed now. We got them up early. They're going to be a little bit hungry, so before breakfast we'll get them going with this, mess them about a little bit, we catch them at a low ebb and true personality comes through, and then you can start saying definitely no way, you know, yeah.
To help to get to know the volunteers, Lofty kicks things off with some mock fighting.
Now, you accuse me of stealing a beer?
Yes.
Come on, then.
The volunteers know they have little time left to make their mark on the selection panel.
My eldest son is a surveyor. He thinks I'm mad. But he's one of these what's been pampered all his life, you know. Doesn't know how to rough it.
I'm passionate about things, and I think you've got to have things that you can really hook into, because, I mean, you get enmeshed in your job, for years, and you've really got to do other things as well as your job. You've got to have the whole variety. And as Liz said, the multitude of things that we're attempting is, it's great, because it's...
It amazes all our friends. They all are always like, you're doing what? You're doing what? And like, what are the 5 challenges you're doing this week, Liz, or the ones you're trying to meet this week? Obviously, this one we're really excited about. We'd really like to get on to this.
We better we go and talk about it. Well, whatever.
Could do.
Come on then.
The volunteers are about to spend 2 days and a night living outdoors and surviving on limited rations. Their first task is to build shelters to sleep in tonight.
Well, can we have some knives so we can, keep the production line going, please?
I think we've got a really... I was thinking about our team. We've got a really good group of people who are quite laid back and relaxed, actually. And I think everyone's quite willing in our team to give each other some room and let everyone speak their mind. But from what I've seen from some of the other groups and from some of the other people I know, I think a few other people are taking over a little bit more than everyone would hope they would.
Narrowboat operator Kim Russell has already shown that he finds it difficult not to take charge.
Has anyone had a count up how many we got down there? Because I'm not keeping count at all.
No, we must have enough.
Well, would you do that, Roger, when you get there, please?
Well, no, I'm sure I've been carrying these loads to
Would you count them, please? It's a minute's work. And if we all have to come back because we're 10 short. Yeah.
I think we're all really tired. I know my temper's extremely short now. And I think Ron's t-shirt says it all.
2 outside ones.
8, 16.
I'm really enjoying myself.
Great.
Just thought I'd let you all know that.
All right, nice.
Just let you all in on that. You enjoying yourself, Ray?
Well, I did when I was up at the cider house.
What, you've already been drinking?
Well, you get thirsty, when you're running up and down hills.
When you're trying to survive.
Looking for people who's not there.
Despite the inevitable leadership battles and some animated discussions, the volunteers are getting on with building their shelters. But the hard work and limited rations are making tempers short.
All right, well, we're all working at cross purposes, so what I'm saying really, Stuart, why have we got people cutting pieces of wood into feathers like we've just been shown about 10 minutes ago?
We're going to start with 2 fires. This is just a short-term thing.
If you want to help us, come and help.
We're not getting anything done arguing, so if you would like to help, come on.
No.
Do you want the help? Or do you not want the help?
Just come over.
Do you want to help or do you not want to help?
As they come under pressure now, as they get hungry, you can imagine that it builds up, they're tired. And you don't realise that you're working in the fresh air, cutting that wood, a lot of energy expended, up and down that hill. We're not starting getting water or firewood yet, so it all builds up, tired, you know. And it's little decisions, you know, and people start noticing, oh, he ain't done nothing, he's sat down, or he's got more, you know. And all the thin veneer of civilisation goes in a very short time.
You asked me what to do.
Yeah.
No, we're doing I told you to tighten the bow and tighten the knot. You were trying to force it through and you pulled 2 bits of work out that previous people had did. So I said, more haste, less speed. And you're going to be done. Pull it through and ride with it.
Stuart, he took it on himself to be leader. A good leader, like so, he delegates, gets the best out of everyone. And I don't think he used his powers to the best ability. You know, he took the role, but he didn't really know what he's letting himself in for. And the way he sort of employed people, he had the ladies doing all the work, the labouring, you know, they was out cutting the wood. To me, I would have got Des out, you know, get him out of the way, get Jack out, get them busy, you know. And the women, real creative, you know, they could have been around the camp, they would have been better employed.
If we can leave it
to help build a watertight roof, Lofty has supplied the volunteers with a sheet of plastic, but they now have to decide how to divide it between them.
I wouldn't like to be the guy to make the first cut. Whoever cuts it, he's going to be a good bloke. If he gets it wrong, he's going to be ostracised. If he gets it right, he's going to get no credit. So they're all going to watch anxiously, and he's going to get the blame if anything goes wrong.
As the knife starts to slice, it's no surprise to find that Kim has shouldered the responsibility.
It's another adventure. We love adventures, you know.
And doing something with other people who have the same idea rather than just us doing
well,
it's a bit of
we don't know if they've got the same idea. We're all going out on the, you know, that's what we're going to find out. That's one of the issues.
Yeah, that's it. Hold it out. Because I can't see where I'm cutting if it's in a big tangle.
It's a case of, okay, whether somebody thinks or whatever that they're the leader. You don't always have to argue with them. You can let them sort of string themselves up sometimes. But Kim is an expert at this type of thing.
Well, no one was the leader. And I don't think anyone is, actually. I mean, I cut the plastic because someone said go and cut the plastic, and I was quite happy to do it. But everyone's doing the whole thing without leadership, and it's excellent. It's brilliant.
Kim was dynamic, right, and amongst the company he shone because he'd done it before. I think when all the others come up, he will sort of, and he gets overtaken. I don't think he'd be able to accept that, you know. He'd want to be there all the time. And a lot of people there, they're going to get better with him as they get used to the conditions and that, you know. And I don't know how bright he is, intellectual or whatever, you know, but I think there's better material, potential material. And once I overtake him, I don't know if he will be a good team member.
Throughout last year, our team of experts visited Taransay to help prepare the island for its new inhabitants and gain information to prepare the new inhabitants for the island. But faced with gale-force winds and no safe anchorage, getting onto the island is never easy, by boat or even helicopter.
The news is not good. The helicopter's still in Inverness.
Oh, shh. Why?
Because they've got technical problems. And realistically, it's 5 to 10 now. It's not going to be here until at the earliest 11:15. Angus, can we get out in the boat?
I don't think so, no. It's forecast of force 8, locally gale force 9. Northwesterly, that's the worst one for launching.
This isn't a game for a laugh, is it, Chris?
This could be the real programme.
Yeah.
Well, this is the type of thing they'll have to contend with anyway,
Absolutely,
isn't it?
yes.
You know, it'll be supplies they won't be able to get across, so at least we know we're going home tonight or tomorrow or to have sort of hot bath and a gin and tonic and something to eat. Well, yes. I have to say, I think they're a very hoping actually, lot. Yes. Well, we can tolerate it for a couple of days or a couple of hours, but a year.
Today's sort of an average winter's day. If you had been up yesterday, you would have seen it really stormy. But there's a heavy swell in from the west. I mean, you can actually see the motion on the beach here just now. But on the other side, the wind is on the shore. You can actually see the breaking on the rock there, and there's no way you could land there.
So how many days would you expect them to have like this out of the year?
You might have one good day out of 10.
And by a good day?
Not in the whole year, in the winter time.
Yes.
I mean, your worst months are November, December, January. once the day starts getting longer again in February, it's not so bad.
How do you keep yourself warm when you're there?
Well, you work.
The hard work continues back on the survival course, where Lofty's letting the volunteers into some of the tricks of survival. But despite his 40 years of military service, some of the volunteers are questioning whether Lofty's way is the best way.
Doesn't mean to say you can't take advice from people. Yeah, give him information, let him make the decision.
Of course, Lofty has seen it all before, but some of the other volunteers can't quite believe what they're seeing.
I came here to learn survival skills. I'm interested in listening to what Lofty's got to say. He knows more about this than anybody, so why anyone's questioning what he's suggesting is a little bit beyond me, but then perhaps I'm a bit simple. Just tell me, please. We have got to pull together if this is going to work, and if you're not prepared to pull together, then I suspect that you're going to find it very hard work. But that's one of the aspects about this which I actually like.
Yeah, we found no, the radiator.
By midday, the shelters are almost finished, and most of the volunteers have played their part.
Big old Butch Peter's doing all the sawing. The alcoholics are holding the piece of black thing that we found. I'm holding up this tree at the moment. And I think the idea is to do that, really. I'm just here to tell a few jokes, keep him happy, keep his beer warm. And they say flick knife, I pass the flick knife. And I've collected some firewood. And if they think I'm sleeping in that tonight, they've got another thing coming.
One of the many challenges facing the castaways will be living for a year with people they might not particularly like. So we asked all the volunteers to consider who'd be their worst neighbour.
Probably someone like the chap who lives underneath me at the moment.
An aggressive, noisy drunk.
Someone very bigoted.
Someone who hates all the things that I like.
I suppose someone might automatically class me as a certain type of person.
An arrogant person who thinks they are better than their other neighbours.
Really, just someone who would like be really patronising and.
Yeah,
I've got 5 degrees in like geology and like I know all about Scottish landscapes and life on islands and that kind of thing.
What was the question again?
Who would be the worst neighbour?
Probably myself in a foul mood.
If you were sleeping in a room with someone, they snore, could drive you mad over a year.
Yeah, or somebody who never stopped talking.
Yeah.
Just as much as somebody who never talked at all.
Yeah.
I think the idea of looking after your neighbour doesn't figure too heavily in a lot of people's lives these days. And I think it's something we could get back to.
In the Outer Hebrides, a helicopter finally arrived to lift our team of experts across to Taransay to carry out their inspection of what lies in store for our community of castaways. For some of them, it's the first chance to experience what conditions are like on the island. It's also an opportunity to establish the distance and location of the vital natural resources that will be so important to the success of the island community. The water supply will be tested in a laboratory for signs of contamination. Lofty has his own test method that's not quite so scientific.
That's real sweet. Yeah, no problems there, yeah.
Great stuff.
And it's cold enough as well, like they're on about refrigeration. If you put your meat or anything, your perishables in a waterproof container, keep it here.
Yeah.
It's going to keep it cool, you know. So even in summer, this ain't going to vary greatly in temperature, you know. So it's an excellent source. You know, I think this supports life, water. Most important aspect, you know.
Water is also required back on the survival course, where it's time to get the fires going and start thinking about dinner. The teams have been told they have to build the fires using Lofty's method.
This is cheating.
Well, it may well be cheating,
but it's cheating. It's cheating.
What happened the other day on your orienteering exercise?
Because we've not even talked about it, Stuart. We've not even talked about it.
The game of the water.
Is water boiling?
But we've not even discussed it, all of us.
It doesn't
We tried to do. We've had Sandy cutting. We've had Tina in tears because people are just shouting. We've not even worked it out this time. We've not.
Oh right, then. Yep. We're told in the lovely Wiseman Survival Handbook that these hold
2 litres of water. I'm trying to use it inside out and trying to wash it so that we get rid of any spermicide, but we reckon that can't be poisonous anyway. And then we're going to have a go. Good for morale, if nothing else.
I'm sorry. I couldn't be serious.
We shall have to ask him for a demonstration tomorrow, I think.
Hi. Some are proving better at working together than others.
Try to keep them dry.
Right, so
you fucking do it. No, I'll give it away. You know, you just, I'm sorry. You want to take care of everything. Do this, do that, do that. You know, okay, let us do something.
I'll go and help with the other one, right?
Yeah. Okay. You got a sharp knife?
I take the point, right?
No, she said
You got a sharp knife? You know those expressions, too many cooks spoil the broth? Too many fucking chiefs, not enough Indians? That's basically the problem. I fear that sort of people won't like me. But that's not my experience of my life. You know, my experience is put me in a group of people and I'm probably going to be one of the most popular people. And I think that's because, although I'm a good talker, I'm also a good listener.
Right, can we start again?
Okay.
Caught cheating, this team's about to lose some of its already meagre rations.
Okay, mate. We'll not waste that. We'll have a brew with that while we're making the fire. Okay?
Yeah, this is not counting for the team, okay?
Yeah, we know.
I've got you 2 eggs for that.
Understood.
Yeah.
2 eggs knocked.
Understood.
Some of us are very embarrassed.
3 eggs
Not
there.
very team spirited though.
It's not, but I mean, come on. We've not
No,
even
come on,
agreed,
work
we've
as
not
a
even
team,
talked
work
about
as
it, Liz.
If we keep on debating the fact,
Folks,
it's going to be
not even got
boring.
together.
Come on, let's get on it.
You try it on, it's up to me to say you can't use it. Yes, I no problem, you tried it, great. Good. Des, real intolerant. Oh, and he started, and straight away, friction. Des's girlfriend, Liz, she was running around, really working well. She come in, and they had words, and it was Des's fault, and Liz stormed off. And I thought, oh, that's not right. I would have had Des out sort of cutting the trees, because he was slowing it all down. And he caused a lot of bad feeling, I think, because he didn't accept Jack in a group.
Dare I say it, Jack? I can't actually. I started that and then I couldn't get in, so I left it. To, you know, because you got involved heavily.
In other words, as soon as you come in to snag, you bugger off. Come on, get in.
If you put yourself on a pedestal and you don't accept people for what they are, you're never going to get on. So I think he had a lot to learn there, you know. And with Des, like, I wouldn't like to be with him, quite honestly, you know. His girlfriend, what I liked about her, she went back to him and she said, I'm very sorry. And she apologised for something he done. And I thought that spoke volumes for me.
I truly believe that all people are equal, and I can't tolerate or find it very hard to tolerate people who think they are superior to others and who won't muck in or, you know, get involved in something.
Which is why Liz likes me so much, because I'm really down to earth and quite humble, modest.
No comment.
After a long day, the volunteers are about to discover what's for dinner.
What I want to do, lot, is... Yeah, mate. I get the legs there, lot. I get in behind. Can you see where I've got the legs? Don't hang them down here. Okay. All right, yeah. I've got them behind there because I've got a lot of leverage on. Now with this finger, lot, that finger comes round the neck, I pull, and the head is separated. He's dead. Now if you feel the neck, lot, I've separated. Okay. Feel the neck itself. And can you see, go right down the neck. Can you feel it separated? Yeah. I can assure you it's dead. Okay. Knackered. Okay, now this is the easy bit. The hard thing is to bring it back to life again.
During their year on the island, the castaways will be killing and eating their own livestock, so it's important that they prove they're up to the challenge.
Don't worry. If someone asks me to do something, as long as I can see a logic in it and I can see that, or they know more about it than I know I do, then I'm quite happy to do it. So I'm quite a laid-back person anyway, but I wouldn't just go along with anything without, you know, asking, you know, at least a reasoning why. And if they said, well, because I've done this before, okay.
Ben, the art is, when you've got both feet, finger on there, just whack, that's what it's done. The quicker you do it, the easier it is for the bird.
I feel really shit, Mum, sorry. But he's got to go, I don't know what else to say. I've never even held a chicken. I thought we'd just sneak up behind them and cut their heads off with a knife, but I'm afraid, mate, it's wrecking time for you. Well, what if I don't do it?
If you don't do it first time, I'll do it. Just hold it, it's dead. Just hold it, it's dead.
So let's quickly do this because it's like, no, I'm going to do it. So So fingers where? Just put my
I'll
fingers.
just show you how to do it, and I will not do it. Right. It's nice and calm. Finger behind the head.
Can I feel where you're going to put
a slight twist and straight pull.
Yeah.
Did you actually feel it snap?
Yeah.
It's upsetting, but it has to be done. They're going to survive.
I can't tell you how hard this is.
It's easier when you've done it. Just do it. The longer you wait, the longer the birds.
Okay. So just a slight twist.
One quick jerk.
Have I done it yet?
No.
Oh, quick.
It's dead.
I've never killed an animal, and I would have had great difficulty doing that.
I'm sure I'll get used to it.
Is that what we're doing then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really horrible when you don't know whether I did it properly.
So shall we
I didn't do. I don't think. Yeah. I suppose that's going to take some getting used to.
Do you want to put some water on like that? People think things come out of Tesco's, you know. It's got a barcode on there and it's got the wrap, and all of a sudden they're surprised, you know. And all we're doing is going back to nature, you know. And it's a nice way of seeing people react. People who do things, although they don't really want to do it, they're the people you're looking for. So I give a lot of credit to people. If someone turns around and says, "Look, I'm not doing that," they've got the bottle to say that, and I appreciate that. I respect their sort of. They come out and say, "I can't do it." The person who says, "Oh, I can do that, but I don't want to," so to speak, they're the people you're watching, you know. So it's a great reaction, and the girls do get stuck in, you know. So you've got to give them credit, you know.
That's it. Shaking as I'm doing this. It needs to be done.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I have to enjoy it, does it?
I think seeing the animals being killed is really important for people who eat meat, because if people had to actually kill their own animals before they ate, they would realise what was involved. If we all had to go through the process of killing and plucking, people would eat much less. And if people ate less meat, then animals wouldn't have to be in such intensive conditions.
I had a lot of time for Sheila. Every time I look, she's working. She wanted to improve herself. She wanted to, you know, get more knowledge. She kept on asking good questions. And every time I looked around, she was working. Yeah, good support of the group. She was doing what people told her. And like I say, the guy with the ponytail, we're doing that. And she was first to help, you know. No sort of dissent and nothing. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And she was helping, like, you know. Yeah, I thought she was solid, yeah.
Unlike many of the volunteers, Sheila Jowers and her husband Peter already have 25 years' experience of living in a largely self-sustaining community, and the prospect of leaving it for a year is of some concern.
We are very, embedded in our community, and to come out of that would be difficult as well, because you'd come back a year later and you feel rather excluded from the world that would have moved on. I mean, I've noticed this when we've been, to Australian places for the odd month. You come back and all that world of these short stories I was telling you about is very intricate. I think I'd miss quite a bit of that.
But you'd find out whether it was like an addiction. I mean, whether you can cope without seeing people, and then, you have longer and better stories to tell when you come back, and what more to hear as well.
Back on Taransay, our experts are carrying out a tour of the community buildings, the most significant of which is an agricultural building that will be converted into the Castaway's kitchen, dining room and main social space.
The main issue at the moment is that the easiest thing to happen is to put a ceiling underneath these trusses, which gets us off the hook on a number of things. Number one, they're covered in bird shit, and somebody's going to have to go up and clean every single one. Or the
what about the light though? You're still going to get the light coming through?
Well, if we go down that road, we're going to have to create light wells along the entire length of the building.
I think it would be a great shame to actually remove these trusses, and I'm sure the people are going to have enough time to get up there and remove the bird shit, for the sake of the feel-good factor that I think will be there with a bit of space. If it's possible to keep the height in the building, then 35 people aren't going to feel cramped in here. When the wind is whistling out.
The sky is low enough here without having a low roof as well.
It's extra storage space as well, and it's handy to put things out the way,
Yeah, and to hang decorations from. I mean, one could use it quite imaginatively.
I think these people, once they're on this island in the middle of February, will be looking for snugs wherever possible.
Yes,
and they're going to be looking for a warm, cosy environment as
maybe
opposed to
bring the ceiling down, you know.
an architectural principle.
You see, it looks lovely. It looks, even today, you know, it looks beautiful outside now. The sun's shining. I'm actually frozen. My hands are red. I forgot my gloves. My nose is red. My nose is cold. My eyes are red. And I've got on 4 layers of clothes under this because I knew it would be cold. So I actually think it's perishing out there, and it's sunny. And a social viewpoint, though, I think it's ideal for them. And Lofty and I were talking about this because Lofty had been a bit reluctant about this, you know, this common area. But as we were discussing earlier, if somebody is very lonely and very isolated and looks a bit down, if they come in here, hopefully the community will be looking after each other, and hopefully somebody will say, that poor sod in the corner looks awful miserable, you know, I better go and see if I can help. And that's the whole idea of getting them together. Otherwise people can isolate themselves in their different sort of units, their different houses, and maybe fall by the wayside and somebody not notice they're particularly down.
After a long day with little to eat, some of the volunteers are already feeling somewhat isolated.
I come from a very secure, very safe, very loving background and upbringing, and I'm horrified by the number of people here who haven't. And you name something and there'll be someone here that's had it happen to them. And I think there are people here that have dealt with that, have gone through some horrible stuff, but they're fought through and they're now okay. I think there are some people that are still in the midst of it and therefore see this is a great thing to do. They think they can escape, they think they can resolve their problem by going on this island. We were talking about Jack earlier. He's an example of someone who is trying to escape loneliness, to my mind, and I don't think that's right. The key thing you need for this island next year is strength, real strength, and knowing who you are and what you are. And I think having a problem and thinking, oh, well, if I go there, it will go away. No way. It's going to be absolutely magnified. And it scares me to the extent that I've been full on to do this. I always have been. But now I'm really got my doubts.
Liz Catherine isn't the only one who's having second thoughts as the stress and strain starts to take its toll.
Let's go home. Why not? I mean, we could.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a little chef on the motorway.
What is keeping
Never
us
been
here?
in one before.
I don't know.
We could tuck into one.
Us here? It's a really good question, actually, because there's a sort of perverse streak, really, in us that's keeping us here, because we don't have to stay. I mean, we haven't signed any contract, and there's nobody forcing us to stay.
There's a sense of responsibility that's developed over the week, I suppose. You know, that one doesn't want to just.
Well, you'd let
bunk
everybody,
off.
because if we left, it would absolutely throw the whole dynamic of, well, the whole group, in fact.
To provide a true microcosm of British society, children as well as adults will be invited to join the Castaway community. On the island, the old schoolhouse, in ruins for years, will be renovated to become the children's own private space.
This is just such an amazing position. For a schoolhouse.
I know.
To think that the kids are going to be looking out on this, you know. I know sometimes it's going to be pouring with rain, but you could make this so cosy as well.
I think the plan is
tremendous potential.
I think the plan is here that they'll have a big window, a big picture kind of window, and make use of the shape of it. They'll be very aware, I think, very aware of the landscape and the climate and what they're living in.
I think the kids are going to have a fantastic time. I really do. I know mine would, and I'm sure these children who are coming will.
Yes, if they're well wrapped up, they'll be okay.
Yes. So this is going to be a shower room, is it?
Yeah.
It's looking a bit communal at
Been
the moment.
prepared for us already.
Is it going to be cubicalised?
Yeah, the idea is to break it down into 3 cubicles, big enough for individuals to come in.
Some people might want to spend all their life in there, you know. Are you going to ration it or?
Yes, I think we're going to have to look carefully at the energy loading. We have a limited amount of energy available for hot water.
Lofty, do you think it's one of the things that they're going to have to decide for themselves? You know, how long they're going to get in the shower is a matter for debate.
And you can't keep the water hot because you're losing heat. So I think once you've got it to a temperature, everyone's got it in and out, you know. And it's one of them people want to dwell in there. So
and they'll have to decide, they'll have to make that decision themselves about how they're going to operate the sort of system of how much water everybody gets.
And there's always going to be someone who's going to get the cold shower, and again it's going to lead to animosity, you know.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Well, hopefully people will want to cooperate, and the people who most need a shower, perhaps who've been working hardest in the cold.
They're the ones who are always late, you see. It's the people who can't do nothing. And that's when people say,
That's right. I was here first, you know.
A hot shower is a comfort that the castaways might not have every day. But to make up for the hardships of island life, we're allowing each of the castaways to select one luxury item to take with them.
So it's like desert island discs, isn't it? You know, and I've often thought, what would that be? You know, it's to be confronted with it is quite interesting.
I can't think of a luxury. No.
I can.
What?
Cricket.
We've got a very nice teapot.
Cricket
We'd like a cricket bats and balls and bails.
A really nice bottle of Chardonnay.
And a flat area of grass to play cricket on. That would do me as a luxury too.
You know, you can make your own beer and things with sort of fermenting kits that I think you can buy in Boots and things.
We could even get into marketing Castaway whiskey, but bear in mind we've said that on camera, so it's ours, all right?
My luxury item would be a trapeze.
Maybe an eyeliner.
If I can take my tampons, I go, and if I can't take my tampons, I don't.
I'm not going to say a blow-up doll, mate.
After a long day of just trying to survive, all thoughts are turning to bed. Except for Lofty Wiseman, that is, who's reflecting on the day's events.
We give them a little hint or flavour what it could be like on limited resources. That this is the idea of them all troughing together and limited stuff. And they say, this is really not for me, you know. And we say, this is only a taste. It could be a lot worse, you know. Can you hack it? And if they're honest with themselves and they want to do it, I think you've got to go, you're on the team, like, you know. If you ask some of these people now, especially in the morning, their desire to stay might not be so strong.
After a restless night, the mood in the camp is downbeat.
Morning, boys.
Good morning.
I'm surprised I'm still here, really. I was going to leave yesterday and got my bags ready, Someone said they would take them home for me so I could just leave. But I decided it's only another day and stick it out to the end.
A visiting badger did its best to lift the gloom.
I was asleep up at that and woke up with a little sort of little nose kind of going all around. So I, thought it was quite a nice dream at first. Then realised it wasn't. And so I jumped up and went, what was that? And I obviously scared this thing, which ran up the back of the thing until it met Ray, and then it got really scared. Yeah, that's the other thing. Ray snoring. Hang on, I'm surprised the badger even dared come near us in the first place. I wouldn't.
Okay, who was kept awake by snoring?
Not CC.
Everyone says I never slept a week. He's snoring all night, but okay, the best way, this is with the fellas, if you ever share a room and a bloke snores, the best way to stop it is before you go to bed, kiss him full on the lips. Okay, he ain't going to sleep a wink, is he? And if he kisses you back, you ain't going to sleep a wink, okay?
It's been fun. I've enjoyed it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd stay for a couple more days. But go home tonight, have a bath and have a decent meal, really. So.
Tammy seemed okay. She got the chicken, very keen. Again, she wanted to get her hands, she wanted to be involved. And although she didn't like it, she did get involved. So she seemed okay, And she was working quietly. Yeah, I had no qualms there. She was all right, I thought, Jack was a nice guy. He didn't really get a chance. He didn't have a lot to offer, if you know what I mean. He sort of, he'd go off on a complete tangent. You think, he's right to the moon, I'm on the same planet. I found him amusing. I like people like that around me. It makes me look good,
I'm beginning to feel it physically now. I have to make concessions. I'm not quite as young as most of the others. But as for actually enjoying it, I've loved it. I really have. I just wish I was younger and fitter, that's all. What more can I say, really?
Still want to go to the island?
Yeah, I do. I really want to go.
Why?
Because it's all this challenging stuff.
Unfortunately, it stopped raining, you know, so they've had a good dose. If it had been sunny all the time, they wouldn't have learnt as much, like, you know. And it is a quagmire up there, but it's little things like that. The mud gets everywhere. They've got to cope with that, you know. And like I say, there's going to be far worse than that. And I can't sort of make it grim enough or realistic enough for them to, you know, to get an accurate picture. But they're doing great, and they're still there, you know. So I don't think anyone's gone home. The weather wasn't the best, but it's in our favour, you know. So, yeah, they're still going.
Give us a smile. The week is over. Our experts must now decide which volunteers have won a place on the island. After his visit, Lofty was enthusiastic about the prospect of a year on Taransay.
As soon as I landed on the island, the sun came out. I know it changed his perspective of everything, but as soon as I landed on the island, it felt like a community. You know, I see them buildings, I see that like paddock, and it felt like home. You know, I'm always looking to build a house somewhere with a, you know, nice view and that. And I looked down and I thought, I wouldn't mind living here. You know, that was my immediate reaction. What a nice place to live. Everywhere I'm looking, I looked on the foreshore. There's limpets, winkles, a few mussels, there's seaweed. So initially, I can survive. I've got water. That's 3 days without water, like we said, 3 weeks without food. If I've got stock and all the other animals and I start fishing, I can live surviving style, you know, and that's my aim. If they're working hard enough, the elements are taking their stride, you know, and they work around them. It's great. We need rain to top this up. We need the wind to drive our generators. It's lovely when the sun comes out. I've got all these crops growing, you know, and I think once they start seeing the crops coming through, once they start utilising all the game, the animals and things like this, and I think then they say, right, and I think you're going to have a problem with squatters at the end of it. They're not going to want to leave, Chris, you know, and I hope you've got this in a clause and you can't stay here, you know, you got to go, like, you know, because that's an ideal setting there, you know, beautiful. You know, people searched all their life for a place like that, you know.
I have no real perception of what it's going to be like. I don't think anyone can say what it's going to be like. Anarchy, if you like.
I think it's an experience really. Obviously one will make certain sacrifices, but one will gain all sorts of things. Well, one can't imagine it really, it's impossible to imagine.
Sure, I really miss lots of things, but it's not forever, unless I really love it and make it forever.
You get some of the old timers, you know, oh, I couldn't do that, Ray. Oh, you're going on your own and all.
I really feel if I'm picked, I'm going to be standing there at the end. Might not be in one pace.
Someone once told me this thing to add life to your days, not days to your life. And I always promised myself that I would stick by that no matter what happened.
When you think that you've not got a great deal around you, and to even get shot of that, just to prove to ourselves that we do have a lot more than we think, and appreciate it more.
And it's just a really exciting possibility.
Where the concrete grows, it doesn't tax your mind quite as much. All that you've got to be is more ingenious than the next fella in the concrete jungle. Whereas on an island, in the Western Highlands, you're pitting your wits against nature.
If I was the only gay man and the other 29 were heterosexual, hey, I'd get to wear all the dresses.
It is different, it's a little bit off the wall. It's about the only opportunity that I'm likely to get to do something as different as this. And I very much want to go.
I think that all of them would like to be asked to go on the island. I think that there's a possibility that some of them may be selected and may decide on balance for either personal reasons or reasons related to their experience of their week away, that they may not want to go. You might get a lot of difficulties if there are too many people with similar skills, because each one might want to do it his or her way. If you have a broad section of society, it would be more like a microcosm of normal society. I like to think that we'll get it right, and we'll get a mixture who will be able to stay. I think there's a possibility that some of them might be hurt if they're not selected, and may not want ultimately to go, but would still be hurt if they're not selected, because they can say, I turned down Castaway 2000.
For 3 weeks, the volunteers have been waiting for the decisions to be made. Today's the day.
We have all been a little bit nervous, and between us, this is actually the last bit of a bottle of whiskey. So I think we've done rather well there.
This is just horrible. It's the worst decision that I have had to sit and wait for in the whole of my life. I just want it over and done with now.
Like they said, I mean, major things in your life, exams, university entry, whatever, things like that, job decisions. It's not been as bad as this has, because it is going to be such a major life change for the best part of 15 months. It's been very tough, and I need that answer. I can't say anything else. I need it because I'm doing my head in at the moment.
If I'm picked for this island thing, I thought it'd be handy to be able to make them. I thought I'd just build a few, you know, give them to my dad. The crofters way of life, I really want to have a go at that. And I enjoy like the coast, I enjoy fishing and I enjoy hunting. And I thought, if I've got to live off the land, I'm sure I could do it. As work prospects go, there's not much around here, not at all. I think I'd probably, if I don't get it, I'll probably end up getting my dad to drop us off on his boat anyway. Well, I'll just land there. He'll just have to put up with me.
So I'm going to let you answer the phone then.
Do you think I've got the... I've got the bottle for it, haven't you?
You've got the bottle.
As much as anything, if I get to the end of it, I feel as if I have really achieved something very different. It is the fact that it is an exercise. I know that the brief actually said it's not an exercise in survival, but in many respects it will be, and I think they particularly apply to the emotional and the mental strength that people have. That's where it's going to be really tough.
Since the selection week, the volunteers have been able to reflect on some of the people they met and who they might have to live with on the island.
Keep me in sight, and then I can keep these in sight, and then we know where we're going.
Children, we're going down.
We're going.
Becky, we're going down.
It was like a couple of stags in a rutting season, quite frankly, and I didn't want anything to do with it myself. That really became nothing more than a personal conflict to me, something they had to work out between themselves. I was very, very tempted at one stage to get hold of the two of them, knock their heads together, push them down the slope into the trees, and just give them a piece of my mind and read them the riot act.
Ben, Mike and Tammy are also reflecting on the highs and lows of the week, and for Ben in particular, there was one significant low point.
That was probably the worst part of the week, actually. Doing it and then the reaction afterwards. Poor chicken, God, it's dreadful. I can't actually even remember if there was a camera there at the time, and I think there was. And I know it didn't work straight away, and I know that Colin was next to me and finished it, because I couldn't do it properly. I just made its neck really, really long. I know I can laugh about it now, but it was really bad at the time. I really had a problem with it. And Ron did as well. And Ron said it was like he was at a cult ceremony and that I looked like a little boy with a chocolate bar, which I find very hard because I was crying practically. I think I was, in fact.
When he didn't want to join in with something, he'd go off and read a paperback book, wouldn't take part in certain group activities if he thought he might soil his hands. When we went off to do anything else in a group exercise, he would have to consider whether or not he wanted to do it. Not really conducive to a group environment, and that was the sole issue I had with Ron. His lack of respect for other people in a group situation, and that really, really damped my opinion of him.
Oh, well, I'll tell you the truth, that I said to him, I'm a bit homophobic. If I'd seen him walking the street up here, I would have probably punched him, you know, but after a few days getting to know him, he wasn't that bad, you know. And I says, well, you've changed my mind a little bit about gays, but, you know, not totally. I said, I wouldn't bend over forwards to help you out, mate, you know what I mean? But he actually told us later on that night that he found what I said was so nice that he went over by the lake by himself and he wept. And he says, well, even if I don't go on this Castaway thing, at least I've changed one person's, you know, thought on an issue.
I'm really sorry, I didn't know we had 3 chickens between us. I really didn't.
The week wasn't without its moments of conflict, and for Tammy in particular, most of them centred around Kim and his tendency to take the lead.
Well, I've blown it again.
The thing with Kim was, even though he had the knowledge and the know-how, he didn't know how to get it across. And he would always enforce his knowledge on people, which caused, I don't know about anyone else, but definitely in my case, a lot of conflict. Because he would just turn around and come out with something quite rudely.
All right, let's go this way.
Or aggressively, which I don't like. And we had quite a few conflicts between the two of us.
It's crunch time for the volunteers as the phone calls begin.
Hello?
Hello? Is that Ben?
Speaking.
Hello?
Hello, Julia.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Were you in the toilet?
No, we were out in the garden actually.
Hello then.
At last, Ron.
How you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
Have you worked out who's a nutter and who's not?
Oh, well, have you?
Oh, Cynthia, hello.
Now, can I speak to Jack first, please?
Of course you can.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello, Jack. How are
Greetings. I'm much better now talking to you. How are you?
Now, Jack, I don't want to beat about the bush with you because
It wouldn't be fair, but we've decided that you shouldn't go. Are you
disappointed.
Well,
This stage, yes, because it looked as though things were built up. I can fully understand it.
And that's not to
say that you didn't give it a very good shot and try everything, Jack, because you did very well, I think.
It's the camaraderie that I'll miss. But that's the way you've chosen. And I don't blame you. I've got plenty to do. There's plenty of things. So a lot of poor victims, unfortunately, will be out there that I can contribute to. And I wish you all the very, very best that you'd like.
Hello, Kim speaking.
Hello, Kim, it's Cynthia here.
How you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Great.
I'm not phoning with good news, and I don't think I should beat about the bush, but I can give you...
I'm not surprised.
Are you not?
Disappointed.
In all, 19 people heard the news that they would not be going to the island. Leaves the 15 who will be going.
But tell me!
Please, if you could.
I beg your pardon?
You've got to wind me up a bit.
Thank you. Yes.
I am. Am I really?
Top banana chick, thank you.
That is wonderful.
Thank you very, very much.
We'll see you there in our loincloths.
Next week, a fresh batch of volunteers go all out to win the last places on the island.
So let's go, help each other, go head first, pushing under the bridge, up the other.
Bad weather brings a halt to building work on the island.
I hope the inhabitants who are proposed to come onto the island are ready for hard work. I believe they'll be heavily involved in constructing their own houses.
Sparks fly as the two halves of the Castaway community meet for the very first time.
Have they lost what initially they set out they wanted to go into this for?
They're behaving like a bunch of spoiled brats.
I still feel, even now, on Sunday, that I'm pulling knives out of my back.
But the new millennium starts with a night to remember as Castaway 2000 officially gets underway.
Taransay, Taransay! Raise your glass!